Power on, and then hit the auxiliary 4 switch. There it is. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to our channel, Craving.Outdoors. In this video, I'm going to show you how I installed the Arb brushless single compressor to one of the auxiliary switches that's built into the 6th Gen 2025 Toyota 4Runner TRD Pro. I'm Joe, and that's my wife Solveig. We are driven with desire to go outdoors and adventure travel. Be it overlanding, backpacking, or national park road trips, it's important for us to have spontaneous options of where to stay, to eat well, to unwind after a fantastic day, to be clean and hygienic. We found over the years it's those things that can make or break a great time. So stick around and follow along to see how we meet those challenges while on an adventure to satisfy our craving outdoors. There hasn't been a single video that I saw online about how to use and hook up something to the auxiliary switches. And so we're gonna hook up our Arb compressor to them and get that installed. I'm gonna show you the hardware mounting that I did, and then all the wiring, including using the aux switch. Now, why did I pick the Arb compressor over, say, the stock compressor that you can get from the dealer? I picked the single brushless version because it had the most important feature that was important to me, which is 100% duty cycle. And what that means is that you can keep it running 100% of the time. You don't have to, run it for a period of time and then let it cool for an equal amount of time. So that was really important to me. And then the second thing is the brushless version comes with a mount, and then it has a quick release on the mount. So the compressor itself can go into the mount, and then you pull the lever and it locks it into place. And if you undo the lever, you can take it out. The regular version doesn't come with that mount. And so I thought, my God, it would be really easy to mount the little tiny single compressor, which is small also. That was the third thing, that it's small. But that little tiny compressor, I didn't have to go buy a mount. I can just use that little mount, figure out how to get it into the car, which I'm going to show you, to get it physically mounted to the car. So I've been looking for a way to mount my Arb compressor single in different locations. And I kind of like this location here. This is the mounting bracket that it came with. And it fits great right here. It goes into one of the screws. The only problem is that it goes here, but none of these other holes line up with some of these threaded holes here. So what I thought is I can get that one in. And if you look, this thing fits really well in here. This thing just fits perfectly in here. Right there, just like that. And that's with this bracket here. And so, man, if I can get this to work, I think this is gonna be the perfect spot for it. I was originally going to install it back here and inside this cabinet. This bracket I bought separately online, and then the switch came with the kit, but I was going to actually install this right here, like that. I thought it would have been a perfect spot for it, actually. Inside here, there's literally a connector for it. In fact, I'll show you. This pops off super easy. there we go. In here, there's this cable right here. And if you look at it, there's some 10 gauge wire here. And I believe that this is probably the original wiring harness for the built-in compressor. So there we go, 12.5 volt DC. So that's on, the car's off. And the black is the positive. If we reverse them, you're gonna see that that number is gonna be negative on the multimeter. So now it's a negative 12.55. So that means that the polarity is reversed. So the black is your red, and the white black is gonna be the ground. Those are always on in the back here. So if you need a power source back here, you've got a big fat one right there. The other thing is these two cables. This is your ignition on off. So these do not charge up until you turn the ignition on. Not accessory, but it has to be ignition on. So this is built in. This was down here, and I was gonna mount the compressor in here, but instead, I found this spot and I mounted it right here. And I like this better because I'm used to opening the hood to do the air up and air down. And check this out. It just hooks right in right there. Man, if I can get this to work, I think this is going to be the perfect spot for it. But I don't have a way there's these holes don't line up here on the bracket. And this is the bracket that came with that ARB compressor. So what I did was I dug through my garage and I found these. And the idea is that I'll bend it so that I can mount it onto that screw hole right there. So what I'm going to do is just put it on the vise here and just bend it. Hey honey.
I have to get a roll-away nesting box.
Okay. All right, that thing fell in the worst spot. Okay, here we go. Trying again. That might actually do it right there. Just need to flatten this out here. My rudimentary metalworking skills. This is all I got though. Check it out, nice and flat. It's getting there. So I bent that. Now it looks like a pretty good fit. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, so I think I've got the bracket figured out. Check it out. So this here is the ARB compressor bracket. I've just gone ahead and bent this and bolted it on. And look at it, it fits really good now. So what I'm gonna do is I've got some of this 3M padding here. Let me show you the stuff. So this 3M padding, it's like a little double-sided pad. I'm just gonna stick it down right here just to protect the area where the metal's gonna hit the metal. So I'll stick those down. I'll get this thing bolted down and then I'll be back. I've got the bracket in, not permanently yet, but it's in place and it's fitting nicely. The compressor is fitting good, but these little screws right here and here have no purpose. They're just sitting there. They're probably for something else to bolt onto. And so I'm gonna remove them because they're in the way. And so again, it's this one here and that one right there. They're in the way, so I'm just removing this bracket here, and then I'll go in there and remove those screws, and then this will be completely open for the compressor. Whew, well, it took some time, but she's in. Okay, just wanted to go over a couple of things. Number one, the fittings for the main outports here and here are 1/4 inch NPT. The fittings here and here, right here, 1/8 inch BSPT. And I've ordered these Schrader valves, and I'm gonna install one of them on this one right here as a pressure relief, because if you turn it on, it'll pressure up, and then it's very difficult to get the hose off. And so I'm going to put a Schrader valve right here so I can press it to release all the pressure from the system, and then it's going to be easy to take the hoses off. But I'd like to get this rotated up. So to do that, there's a bolt right there. It's a 10 mil, and I'm going to go ahead and loosen it up. So now, once you loosen it, you can rotate this stuff freely. And I'm gonna rotate this part, but hold this part. I'm gonna install the Schrader valve right here so that I'll have a pressure relief. She's mounted in there, Arb brushless. I can always take it out by unlocking that bracket here. The bracket is permanent. I undid all the stickum, and so it's double-sided sticky foam on the metal of the frame, and then the ARB is on top of that, and then it's bolted down in 2 spots. And it's not touching, everything's clearing. I believe, let's see. Yes, that's clearing. It's not touching. So, now that that's physically mounted, it's time to wire it up. So I've got the air compressor hard mounted in the car, and now it's time for the wiring. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put the wiring on one of the 4 auxiliary switches that come in the 4Runner. And so when you get a 4Runner, it comes with these here. These 2 came in this box right here. And then another box came here, and that's this one. So these 2 pigtails are the pigtails for the auxiliary switches. And if you look inside of them, like on this one, we'll see here that this one has a brown, light blue, white, black, white/black, and a red. So you can see here, white/black, red, light blue, and brown. And this one here came with, and you can see here that this one says black is our 15 amp, the white/black is the ground, and then we have a green, which is a 10 amp, and a white, which is a 10 amp. And so that's this. So these 2 pigtails are the same. And they give you 2 of these pigtails because there's a connector in the engine compartment and one in the cabin. So then you want to look and see, well, which switch is which? And so then you look in your manual, right here, the 4Runner manual, and on page 481 is the start of auxiliary switches. If we look over here, Aux 1 is the 40 amp, Aux 2 is your 20 amp, Aux 3 is a 15, and Aux 4 is a 10 amp. And then you have Aux 5, which has no power. It's just a constant feed once the accessory or the engine is on that you can tap into, and that's also a 10 amp. So I'm going to go ahead and use Aux 4, which is the 10 amp, and that's the green wire. That's going to be this pigtail here. There's my green wire. I'll have to find the location of where these pigtails are. So if you look in the manual, it'll tell you where they are. And so you can see here in the manual, there's pigtails right here in the front of the rig. And then there's one, and then there's the B pigtail, which is in the back of the compartment here. So I'm gonna go find those and wire this up. I'll wire up the ARB compressor straight to the battery and wire up green wire auxiliary 4 to the switch. Not to the switch, but to the relay. And then once I switch that auxiliary 4 on, it'll start the compressor. Okay, so I popped the cover off here. And I was looking around the car. I popped the cover off here and look what I found. If you look right down here, so here's the engine. You pop this cover off, here's the washer fluid water. And if you look straight down right there, there's our connectors right there. There, it's in. We got it in, so that pigtail is in now. And so these should be connected to our auxiliary switches now. So now it's time to test because I'm going to use the green one. Okay, we've got that pigtail hooked up. We've got a multimeter on the green wire right here. Jack's helping me. We got 0 volts right now. And we're grounded. And then we're going to go ahead and turn on 4. So now it's on. You can see the little light came on. And now we should have 12 volts, right? We're showing 12 volts? Yep, 12 volts right there on the multimeter. So we have confirmed that that works. And now it's just a matter of connecting 3 wires. We're going to connect the red and the black over there. And then we'll connect this to the switch. And then we're good to go. And we've got it done. We just tested it. It works. We're so excited. So we have this ARB cable here. We plug this in. And then I'll go ahead and turn on the power on and then hit the auxiliary 4 switch. And there we go. And then we'll let, now it's built up pressure, so the pressure switch cut it all off. And now it's So the wiring is super simple, okay? So the wiring is literally 3 wires that you connect from the car to this. The rest of the wiring loom, which is here, that I've got covered up now, is just a giant mess. Here's the wiring harness that I have left over right here from this big mess that they give you. Okay, so this is the wiring harness here. This is the red. This is our ground. There's 2 grounds that connect together and just grounded right into the frame here. Inside here, there's a bunch of wires that I didn't have to use, but the trigger wire is sent to signal by a little computer that's in here. It's a little tiny computer. And then this is the trigger wire. So this wire here is coming from our switch, okay? That we have directly connected right there to our wiring harness. This is the pigtail here that came with the car for the auxiliary switches that is plugged in right there. So that comes up, connects in here. This wire follows and it goes to the pressure switch. Then the pressure switch blue wire comes into that little computer that's right here. This pressure switch is always closed, meaning that it's always connected. So these 2 are always connected. It'll only disconnect the connection between these 2 wires if the pressure gets above a certain amount. So that's where it'll cut off. So essentially what's happening is I hit the aux 4 button, it charges this wire, comes in, pressure switch then charges the blue wire, which feeds power to the little PCB that's inside here. And then that PCB has a wire that comes out of it that is this trigger wire here, and it'll charge that trigger wire to then turn the pump on. And that's it. The PCB also has a bunch of other wires that are for the ARB lockers, right? But I'm guessing that 100% of you with a Toyota 4Runner are not going to be using that. So we've got the trigger wire that goes to the pressure switch. Pressure switch wire goes to the little computer. Little computer then outputs this wire right here, which then triggers the compressor to turn on. The big cables are always connected to power. These are live. These are connected straight to the battery, and I'll show you that connection. And then this wire follows along, zip tied up along there, and then I'll show you how I've got it connected. I had to extend it because it wasn't long enough. We run it under here, and it just runs here. This is the fuse that they provide, ARB. I'm not sure how big it is. And that just runs straight into here. And it's just tied down. Let's see if I can open this. And that's just right here, clamped down to there. And it works great. There's another wire that comes out of that little PCB, and it's a light blue wire. And I couldn't figure out what that was, but then I read in the instructions that that light blue wire will send a signal to the ARB switch to light it up in case there's a fault. So this thing, in case there's a fault, the little computer will sound and it'll make beeps. And in addition to the beeps, it'll send a signal out to the ARB switch, which I do not have installed, to light up the switch multiple times. So that's that light blue wire. That one is not being used. So I just have it wrapped up in here because I don't have the ARB switch being used. But I do have the sound that comes on from this thing. So that is the wiring. Okay. That's the install. Well, thanks for watching. I hope this helped you. Stay tuned for more mods. We've got Westcott design rock sliders going in. And I have today a Rego fabrication winch bumper going in with winch, 12,000 pound winch. What else we got going on? I have an Airlift 1000 system with a wireless one controller that's gonna be put in. And that's gonna be it so far. So I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me, watching the install. I hope it helped you. And if there's any questions, please leave them in the comments. To see more about the 4Runner build that we've got going on, please subscribe, hit like, that really helps out the algorithm. And we'll see you in the next one. Take care.